I have one juicy thing that can expose us.
Oh, go on.
Whoa.
I'm worried now. He's been saving it up.
You burnt a tyre yesterday. Hello and welcome to Green Queens, the perfect podcast for imperfect environmentalists. We're your hosts, Imogen Bogle and Abbie Dewhurst, and today we're at the rather fabulous Ladbroke Hall as part of Extreme Hangout and London Climate Action Week, and we're joined by some really rather fabulous guests.
We certainly are. Very excitedly, we are joined by Ben Brown and Ciara Doyle from Going Green Media. They are climate storytellers and they are on one heck of a mission. They've got a really impressive following across all media platforms. It's in excess of 700,000 people combined. And they've been totally instrumental in finding, filming, and sharing solutions for our planet through social media. Welcome, Ben and Ciara, to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Total pleasure. What a glorious spot we're in as well.
Amazing hall.
Stunning.
Yeah.
I should say, for anyone who's just listening to this podcast rather than watching it as well, there's quite an incredible sculpture behind Ciara's head here, which is quite ominous. Maybe it's a metaphor for the climate challenge.
I hadn't noticed it till you pointed it out, but
Just peering over your shoulder there.
We thought it'd be a good place to start at the very beginning. Do you want to talk about Going Green Media and how it all came about?
yeah.
Yes. So I think a lot of climate creators come into this world frustrated, and they've been in a background where they just weren't able to say what they wanted to say. So I was studying architecture at Loughborough University 6 years ago, and my teachers weren't interested in sustainability at all. They wanted me to talk about colonial architecture, modernist architecture, and I was just sick of it. I wanted to talk about green architecture, solar panels, roofs, green walls, those kind of things. So I took a trip to Singapore, where there's some amazing green architecture there. I went to Copenhagen, I went to Barcelona, all on my student loans at the time. I basically lived on baked beans whilst I was back in student halls.
They are vegan.
Exactly. And I filmed these projects and made a very poorly edited video for YouTube. And a lot of people related with it. They said, like, I wish I was learning about this stuff in my architecture school. So I continued to film more and more projects, and then I found a passion for filmmaking. And then I met Ciara in 2020, and she basically said, why don't we do everything in the sustainability space? So food, fashion, agriculture. And yeah, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, so my background is more in traditional media, journalism. I worked in entertainment television for a while, and I loved what I did. I always loved the storytelling aspect, but I always wanted there to be a bit more purpose intertwined with it because I had my own personal passions. I've been vegan now for 12 years, so I had always wanted to, kind of have something with a little bit more of an impact for people and planet. So when I moved to the UK and I met Ben in the midst of COVID, essentially, I heard what he was doing, and he's at the time it wasn't yet Going Green Media. It was still kind of like a hobby YouTube channel, but he saw potential for it, and I saw his vision as well. And I said, like you said, I was like, we can do so much more with this. There are so many more avenues we can take because every sector is revolutionizing to be more sustainable in some way or another. So so ever since then, since 2020, we have filmed with probably over 300 projects around the world, and in any vertical that you can think of, just to kind of show people that these solutions are out there, because I think so often we were really disillusioned, especially during COVID, with the doom and gloom news media, and we thought, God, there has to be some light at the end of this tunnel somewhere, and there are so many. We do this work for truly, I would say, the millions of people around the world who are devoting their lives and their careers to creating incredible solutions for people and planet, whether that's helping their small little community or the greater, region or country, wherever they live, or even the world. And so it's been really incredible to kind of help them share their stories.
I mean, it is absolutely astonishing, and you mentioned the word hope there, and about finding these really inspiring stories and 300 projects. My word, it's absolutely incredible. But one thing that makes me quite stressed is your logistics. My goodness me, you guys are never at home.
Yes, we try to plan everything well in advance. So we have a list of about 1,000 projects on our Notion page that Ciara handles.
Yes.
And whenever we go to a place, we'll try and pick out 6 projects in that area that we can try and visit during that time. And then we just release them at different periods of the year. So it looks like we're traveling all over the world, but really we had visited that 6 months ago.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing. We understand that here we are preaching sustainability, and some people are like, oh, why do you travel so much? And we completely understand kind of almost the slight hypocrisy there. But like Ben said, whenever we do travel, we always, first of all, we prioritize train, EV if possible, or even bike. We love doing cycle trips for even hundreds of kilometers worth.
That's
of
a lot of
trips.
kit to get on a bike.
Yeah, well,
Most
we
of
have
it's
our
iPhone, most of it, I honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
iPhone and drone, that's most of our work.
for filming. Yeah,
That's amazing. So I love that Imogen was stressed about the logistics because she's a spreadsheet kind of gal.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stressed about the fact that you two, I believe, are in a relationship
Yes,
as well as
we are.
doing this as a job. Tell me how that dynamic works.
Oh,
that's
it's
interesting.
We say we didn't want to work a 9 to 5, but now we work 24/7.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
But I think in the beginning, because when we first met, we didn't think business at all. It wasn't a business merger. You know, it was just a relationship that blossomed on its own. And over time, it of course has its pros and cons. There are some days, especially in the first few years, we really struggled with that kind of division of time.
Yeah.
Like when is us time and when is work time. But because we're both so passionate about it, the line tends to blur sometimes.
A bit like our relationship.
Yeah, I
together,
bet,
Imogen and I.
And Ciara likes to work in the evenings, which I just hate. Like,
I
she's
am a night owl,
and
truly.
I just can't do it. So whenever she wants to talk about work in the evening, I'm just like, please stop.
Yeah, and that was the biggest thing. We had to really find that line where we're like, okay, even if we're like, oh, this would be cool, you know, you're in the shower, you're about to go to sleep, you're like, oh, I just had an idea. We're like, okay, write it down, we'll talk about it tomorrow. So yeah, we have to kind of be strict with ourselves about that. And it has really, it's allowed us to still enjoy our relationship. We've been together almost 5 years, and as well as have this business.
Yeah, and the nice thing about when we travel as well, we always try to plan a little holiday. So wherever we go, we do maybe 3 days of work, and then the rest of the week, 4 days is a holiday. So
If possible, not always possible. Not always.
Yeah.
And logistics-wise, you said you're a spreadsheet gal. Do you use Notion?
I have used Notion in the past.
Okay.
I love Notion, I love Miro, I love Google Sheets. Throw them at me.
I don't know how to
I
use
love them.
any of them. So
Okay, I was going to say,
logging
this is not a plug for Notion, but genuinely it is my second brain. Like, that's where I keep everything for our business, and it's so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sort of, and I always find these things when you go into other people's Notion boards or Miro boards, you're like, I'm really getting a window into how your brain functions.
Yeah.
Which is always fascinating.
Maybe we'll dig into each other's Notion and Miro boards later. Really get to know each other.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's go wild.
We won't go for a drink after this. We'll get our Notion boards. The thing that really strikes me though is that, you know, when you start doing this job, and Abbie and I are experiencing this as well, there are so many positive stories to tell. But you have to be quite choosy. Mm-hmm. And you have to be quite intentional about the ones that you think are worth shouting about. And I wonder if you could share an insight into how you go about not only finding those stories, but also assessing the ones that you think are really worth putting some effort behind.
That's a good question.
It's a great question, yeah. I think, honestly, the things that we are passionate about and we find on social media or in the news, we're like, add that to the list and we'll go and visit it someday. I think that's our biggest one.
Yeah, but also, I mean, we are very particular, especially in this world of greenwashing. Like, we are very, we try and be as strict as we can. We always vet companies really thoroughly, not just using, you know, their website, but we do lots of different research, look at any news articles they have, any even consumer reviews, if it's a product, like really try and see if this company is what it says it is, or organization or initiative, whatever it may be. And
we also try and make sure that we keep a good diverse range of projects and that stuff. Like, we don't want to just talk about architecture and design all the way through, because not everyone's interested in that. And even though I love that stuff, I know that people want to talk about food and fashion.
Yeah.
And I do too. So
Yeah.
we try and keep it a broad, diverse.
yeah, there's a great quote that says, no art is for everyone, but all art is for someone. And we believe the same thing in what we do. No topic is for everyone, but every topic is for someone.
Yeah.
So that's kind of when we first started. Even though Ben said we follow what we're passionate about, we also follow what maybe we don't know about. Like if there's something that we really have no expertise in whatsoever, we have no experience with it, we kind of allow that curiosity to guide us as well, and kind of be like, oh, let's see if there's something there. And more often than not, it's led us to some really interesting things that we didn't think necessarily that we would have been interested in.
And I think you touched on greenwashing there. I think what you guys have managed to do is create a really great level of trust with the people that follow you. So they know that you have vetted for and that you really vouch for these, companies or organizations or whatever it is that you're talking about or promoting in any way. But that's a really overwhelming thing, I think, for some people to do. Like my mum sometimes will send me, I don't know, a dress, and she'll go, oh, is this brand a good brand? And she doesn't know what she's looking for. So I think to the listeners that are maybe just starting out in trying to be a little bit more sustainable, what would your tips be in, maybe 5 key things that you'll really look for if you are vetting something and really trying to figure out if it's green or if it is greenwashing?
I think the main thing is how transparent is the brand online. So is their website actually giving realistic facts, or is it very flowery language? That's probably the main thing.
Yeah, like for example, if it's a clothing brand, well, first of all, any kind of company, I always look if they have an impact tab or a sustainability tab, or something to kind of just talk about what they're doing beyond just selling things or creating a service or something like that. But yeah, like Ben was saying, also looking at if it's clothing, for example, fabric content, you want to see, are they using completely fossil fuel based textiles in their clothing and then marketing it as this luxury product, or are they actually using natural materials? And there's a lot of different little things, but I think solid facts, not flowery language, is a big one.
Are they allowing people behind the scenes to see their factories?
Yes, that's transparency. And exactly, that's not just transparency online, that's also in person. And then I think also company culture, like it's very easy to go online. Like one thing that I'm not going to lie, we do sometimes is if an organization reaches out to us that maybe we've not worked with before and we've heard kind of, iffy reviews, we will type in company name and then scandal after it online.
Yeah.
And you very quickly can find the good, bad, and the ugly there. And
Green Queens scandal.
Exactly. And of course, you have to also, we're looking for progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
So you want to see, okay, if something happened, what did they do to amend it or try and,
Yeah, no one's perfect.
No, make change, exactly.
It's progress over perfection for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
We definitely, I think, really love that hit because, with our jobs, sometimes we can't be totally sustainable. The travel is something that has to be done sometimes, and it's constantly thinking about that trade-off and where things aren't perfect, what steps are being put in place. But, you described the flowery language, that transparency, that kind of assessment of goals, and Lush immediately springs to mind. And I know that you guys have done some stuff with them recently. We went to visit their factory. It was like doors open. We'll tell you everything. We're excited to tell you everything. And I feel like they're kind of, the panacea of what it means to be a sustainable company.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think for me, I grew up always seeing Lush stores in the malls and, everywhere. And because there are so many for a very long time, actually, before we ever even worked with them or they ever reached out, I kind of thought to myself, like, is that greenwashing? Same. Because you kind of think, like, it's such a huge multinational organization. Like, how can they actually be sustainable? And after visiting their factories and meeting the founders and really hearing from people within the company as well, it really is incredible. Like, again, they say this themselves, they're not perfect either. They have made mistakes in the past and they've tried to rectify them. But at the same time, it's like, for such a large organization, it really is commendable what they do with recycling and product source or ingredient sourcing and all of that. It's really amazing.
And I just love the founders as well. They're just really cool hippies.
They say they're old hippies who like to make products. So.
And we chatted to Ruth Andrade, actually, who, I can't remember, is she head of sustainability?
She was like, I don't want a job title, just say Ruth sustainability,
But we've not met the founders, but she said essentially they just wake up every day, go for a swim in the sea. And she said if that is not, they're bird watchers, I think. She said if that's not people that really care about the planet and that have set up the brand for the right reasons, then I don't know who is. And if anybody is interested in hearing more about Lush, series 1, episode maybe 3, 4, something like that on Green Queens is a really big deep dive. And we were actually in the Lush archive for that chat, which was phenomenal, wasn't it?
It was like stepping back to 1997, walking down High Street, and you just it's such a visceral kind of
sensory
memory.
overload.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing. If I could just quickly add that when Lush first brought us to their kind of HQ down in Poole in Dorset, that was the first thing we did with them. Rather than go straight to the factory and learn straight about the business, one of the founders took us on a bird watching cruise of the bay, and
He
it's
was
like,
so excited
and he
when
was
he
so
saw
excited.
birds. It was so cute.
Yeah, it was amazing. I was like, okay, how often do you get to do this? Let alone with the founder of a huge company. So.
For sure. And, the way that you storytell and curate, I think I also come from a background of traditional mainstream media, TV and radio, and they're two very different beasts, aren't they? Making television for primetime BBC One versus making something that may well go viral online. They're so different. And I think that's one thing that perhaps the media industry sometimes is a little bit confused by, but you two seem to be total experts in virality, in going viral.
I wouldn't say expert.
I would say expert. We would say expert.
Sometimes genuinely that's luck.
We've learned a few key techniques. That first 5 seconds is everything. You've really got to hook them with the visual and the title.
Yeah.
That is really important. And then the last 5 seconds as well, like making sure there's a call to action at the end. So we always, on every single one of our videos, we tell people to share this video.
Share this video for XYZ.
For a reason, yeah.
And actually, I can't remember who we were talking to. Maybe it was, Condé Nast.
Juliet Kinsman.
She's like, we need the algorithms to know that we want this content, and that sharing is absolutely critical. And it's so fascinating. And sometimes it's depressing that it comes down to those first 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But in today's sort of attention economy, it's vital. And one of the things that really strikes me is that, we're seeing this transition of the media where, people are recognizing that we can't just rely on traditional broadcast media or traditional print media. We have to take other platforms very seriously. Mm-hmm. And I know that you've been working very closely with the government and also with the King's Foundation.
Makes you sound so badass. Yeah. You are spies.
I wonder if you could just sort of share, what is it that they're really hoping to grasp from your experience and from your expertise?
I think they're really just trying to catch up. They've realized that, as you were saying earlier, podcast is good.
Podcast we like.
So yeah, I think they're trying to catch up and get into this space so that they can speak to a younger demographic.
Yeah, that goes, I think, because I think obviously traditional media like film and television and news and radio, like they still do have a place in this world, but I think they've also kind of started to realize as well, like, oh, maybe we do need to diversify what we do. We can still be at the core a television station or a radio station, but we do need to expand into social media because I think there was actually a study that was done, I think it was reported on last week by the Reuters Institute. They surveyed over 100,000 people across 48 countries, and they found that the majority of those 100,000 individuals get their news now from social media, whether that's a good thing or bad thing, whether it's misinformation or not, that's a whole other conversation. But it really shows that there is that kind of quick consumption is where the trend is going, at least for now. So that's something that is vital, I think, for these organizations, or at least they're starting to realize these traditional media organizations and government and foundations and things. They are starting to realize, like, oh, we need to pivot into this if we want to keep getting support and kind of attention and things like that. So,
and is this ever? And probably not, but when you started out 5 or 6 years ago, could you ever imagine, A, having the following that you have now, and B, having the impact in these rooms, having these sorts of conversations with people?
No, definitely
not. Not a chance. No. I came from a very small town in between Manchester and Liverpool, and some of the stuff that I send to my mum now, she's just like so proud, which is just amazing. We met Prince William yesterday and shook his hand, and I've told my mum about this, and she was in floods of tears last night.
Yeah, I think when we started, I mean, this isn't something like a lot of, I think creator or influencer or whatever has kind of a negative connotation to it. And for us, like when we started this, we truly kind of started it as a passion project, and neither of us have ever, asked for anything from either of our parents. Like there's always been self-funded and self-run. And when we first started, we were working other jobs at the same time. So it'd be like go to work and then come home and then from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. work on this. And so when we started, we kind of were like, let's see where this goes. It was never with the intention of, we need to hit this number of followers by this time. Or, it's just kind of see what we can do, and it's been pretty good.
I say that
it makes me laugh because I think, especially for our parents who, again, grew up with like traditional broadcast media, it is a bit of a weird thing that they kind of have to get their head around. It's like, why would a YouTuber or an Instagrammer be in some of these forums where you can say to Prince William legitimately, I met your dad the other day. And my dad is like definitely trying to sort of really engage with this. And he'll say things to me like, does so-and-so have a tube? And I'll be like, do you mean YouTube?
Yeah.
But, you know, nice to see these sort of starting to kind of engage with this very splintered media landscape and recognizing that it's an incredibly valuable and important thing.
That's the best thing.
That's so funny.
So have a talk.
No, that's so true though. I feel like if I had even thought of my dad, you know, understanding the concept of influencer, creator, or whatever, like 10 years ago, I'd have been like, oh no.
He still doesn't even know what we do.
He still doesn't know what we do, actually. when he introduces me to his friends, he's like, "This is my daughter. She's and then he goes with influencer. I'm like, no. Because that is a bit reductive sometimes, but yeah, I'm like, all right, we'll get you there, Dad.
So on amazing opportunities and incredible collaborations, what would be your fave, do you think, so far?
Ooh, yeah.
My absolute fave was last year at the Paris Olympics. We built a connection with the sustainability comms person at the Olympics.
And Paris was pretty good.
It was incredible.
It was the most sustainable games yet, and again, not perfect, but seeing from behind the scenes what they managed to achieve was incredible. Like when you think like, oh, they need to get 15,000 beds for all these athletes, and then some athletes have certain things, you know, that need to be specially made, and it really is such from a logistics standpoint, unreal. And it was really impressive.
Yeah, they allowed us to go behind the scenes in the Olympic Village, and it was just incredible to see those things like firsthand.
Did you lie on a cardboard bed?
I jumped on one. Yeah. He told me to test it.
Honestly, they're super comfortable. I think the people love to complain about things.
Yeah.
And point fingers and say stuff, but genuinely, and they were designed like in France using a French company who did the mattresses. And because obviously you have some athletes that are 4'11" and then you have some athletes that are 6'7", they need to be adaptable. And so they made them like modular. So it was one of those things. If you're shorter, you can have 3 pieces. If you're taller, you can have 4 or 5 pieces of your mattress.
Like, that is very cool.
Really, really interestingly done. Yeah.
And for other creators out there seeking opportunities like that, I think the best piece of advice is go to events, network as much as you can. Because we built this relationship with the sustainability comms person in 2021, so 3 years before the actual Olympics. And I simply emailed them asking if we can go to their headquarters.
Because their headquarters building is one of the most, it's called Olympic House, and it's one of the most sustainable buildings in the world. Wow. It's got like platinum LEED certification, which is like super sustainable architecture.
And we just emailed every year to seeing what they're up to, and managed to get an invite to the
Do you know what? You don't ask, you don't get. And I think a lot of the time in these sorts of industries, and particularly with social media, it can always feel a little bit like, oh, they get to do that. Oh, that person's there. Wow, how amazing is that? How lucky are they?
Yeah.
You make your own luck in these sorts of situations. Those things didn't happen from you guys just scrolling and sitting on your asses doing nothing. You've been so proactive. I think
that's true. And of course, sometimes we do get an email with an invite for something. We're like, ooh, okay. Yeah. What did we do to deserve this?
Oh, have there been any that you've had to turn down that have been so juicy, but that just haven't?
We've had the worst of the worst reach out to us, honestly. One that we told last night at a different panel was there was a de-icer company that were, so this is de-icer for roads when it's winter, that were spreading starfish onto roads, and they were grinding up
starfish and using it as like a de-icer.
And they said it was natural because it's from the environment. It's like,
we're like,
why would we ever promote that?
No. So the ones we've had to turn down are the ones that we're happy to turn down. I will say.
They weren't also offering you a trip to the Bahamas, so that's fine.
No, exactly.
We've had,
one of the largest plastic manufacturers reach out to us and say, oh, we're doing something with 10% 10% less plastic. We're like, ooh, you know. So there's certain things like that where I think we're both very strong in our values and our beliefs, and not to sound like, you know, oh, we're holier than thou, but truly, like, well, this is something because at the end of the day, your credibility is something that you have to build over time, and it can be shattered in an instant. So you really have to stick to your guns really, and
Yeah.
not just go for the price tag maybe attached to something.
Even when it's a huge price tag, you got to think about it long term.
Definitely.
Yeah, and some people might be like, oh, well, that comes from a big place of privilege as well. But at the end of the day, I think working in this space is a big privilege. We could go get a job anywhere else if we wanted to you know, and that's
As a side hustle, yeah.
as a side hustle, exactly. If I ever needed to, if we had to turn down a big deal because it was something that didn't align with us, if I had to get a job to support that, I would, because it's just, like I said, credibility is really important, and integrity as well.
And I suppose that, you know, it is a privilege, but at the same time, you have so many followers, you have a responsibility to them. You've built that trust and rapport, that you've done the due diligence, and you have to take that extremely, extremely seriously. I think what's really interesting about the content that you create is that some of these solutions are their technologies or they're sort of innovations that you're sharing, and others are looking at experiences that people are familiar with already. The Olympics, for example. Most people will know what that is. And then finding the sustainability stories that underpin them. Do you see a different level of success on that type of content, sort of grounding in things that people understand versus new technology? And what kind of tends to land better?
I think the stuff that does best for us is showing the process. So when we can go behind the scenes with a company, I think nowadays people don't just want to see the polished final product. They want to see how was it made, who was involved. So those are the projects that are done best.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we were talking about this yesterday, actually, at a different event. Kind of gone are the days of social media where every photo has to be perfectly polished and photoshopped, and the travel picture has to be perfect. I think people are pretty sick of that at this point. They want real experiences and authenticity. And so, for us, like, especially growing up, I used to love this program. It was called Unwrapped. It was like a show in the US where they would go behind the scenes of like food manufacturers and see how things were made. And I always loved that. I found that was fascinating.
In the UK, it's called How It's Made, I think.
Or Inside the Factory.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. And I think so many people are interested in that, because I think for so long we've just been given things and we've just accepted it. But now I want to say this, within this last few years, everybody's starting to question that a bit more and be like, oh, where does my stuff come from? And we should know that, because at what cost was it that had to get to us? You know what I mean? Like the human cost, physical cost, anything like that.
You mentioned that sort of shift in people's mindset about all of a sudden now looking at a brick and going, well, hang on, what's that? And how's that got there? That I referenced that because one of your most viral videos is about a bricks made out of fabric.
Yes.
What do you think has been behind that change in people's mindset over the last 5 or 6 years?
I think TikTok has had a big part to play in that, to be honest, because it's so authentic. It's people picking up a phone and just saying what they want to say. We're so used to seeing polished stuff on TV that you don't get to see those things.
Yeah.
Anyone's got access to say anything online now, so people want that authenticity.
Yeah, I also think during COVID, I think that was kind of when people saw the world come to a screeching halt like so quickly, and that is something obviously we hadn't seen in 100 years or so. I think that made a lot of people understand maybe a little bit more like the fragility of our world and of our societies and our lives. And in many ways, you can argue both sides for this, I think, but I think people have become a bit more aware of, things like obviously plastic pollution, clothing, like textile waste, deforestation, any issue related to climate change and biodiversity loss. And it's kind of made people want to help. But again, there's so much misinformation on one hand and also doom and gloom on the other hand that they don't know where to start. So when they see things like, for example, like the fabric video that you were talking about, when they see things like that, that's such a simple idea, but it has such an impact, and it's something that could be replicated as well around the world. It doesn't just have to be this one company that has, this proprietary idea, but no, it can be done anywhere.
And that video that you mentioned, we were in Paris and we saw that this company was on our list. We DM'd them on the day to see if we can go and visit them. They said, yeah, we went for half an hour, edited it in half an hour, and it got 21 million views. And we would never expect that from that small amount of work, and some of the work that we do takes days to do.
It's always the case.
But I think again that goes back to numbers are important in a way, but you can't pin your content on, oh, I need to get 2 million views with this video, or it's the end of my channel. But you have to again just kind of go with it, be open. It's not always going to work. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. So.
And the impact goes so much further than just views. Like, it's habits that people actually take from that video are more important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with my other hat on, with the fully charged and everything electric shade, that's something that we talk about all the time, is that views, of course, count, and they count because of money as well, ultimately, and ensuring that we can keep going. But it's that sort of overall, what does your overall recipe of stuff look like? What are you asking people to do? Where are you being consistent? And if you get too bogged down in the numbers, then you lose that sort of authenticity of your voice.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the most enormous name drop, because I was at an event on Monday and Professor Brian Cox was there, and someone submitted the question, how can I get my daughter off TikTok and doing all this scrolling, and how can I get her to start talking about astrophysics? And he was like, stop with that for a second. He was like, TikTok, there's many things that are bad about it, but there are many things that are brilliant, and it inspires that curiosity of mind. And he was like, if she's there finding stuff that she engages in, who knows, she might make the connection to astrophysics, but she might make a connection to something else equally valuable. And I just think it's fascinating that we can use these platforms in a way that inspire that constant curiosity, which ultimately will inspire constant action as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think one thing, if I can add, is like in throughout this London Climate Action Week, one question that we hear keep popping up at panels and different discussions and roundtables is, oh, well, what do we do about, the far right influencers and like kind of populist media that's popping up all over the place and influencing especially young men? And it's like, in many ways, we can't worry about that. We need to worry about making our messaging better to try and reach them as well. It's kind of like they're going to keep doing their thing. We can't stop them, unfortunately.
Use some of their tactics.
Yeah, exactly. You can use some of their tactics. Like you have to, we always say, meet people where they're at. What do they relate to? What do they want? Because at the end of the day, even if you speak to someone who may be on the complete opposite end of the political spectrum from you, most likely they want clean air, clean water, better opportunities for their kids. So, and we all want the same thing. So it's like you have to find that common ground. And like you said, use these things like TikTok and social media as tools to make that happen.
Yeah, and especially for children, I think it's important that their followers, who they're following, is really filtered. And if parents can take control of that'd be great, I think.
Yeah, that's very important.
Yeah. You're like the Blue Peter of, I don't know if that's lost on you, Ciara, because you're not from the,
I know Blue Peter.
UK. Yeah. Sorry, it's the best kids TV show that the BBC have essentially ever made. I think we both probably wanted to be Blue Peter presenters.
Oh, 100%. And just, for anyone who, we know that we do have international listeners, so for the benefit of international listeners, Blue Peter was a kids' TV show, and Ciara, of course, where they would be like, let's go see a lamb be born, but then let's go and make a papier-mâché Barbie swimming pool.
Yeah.
And write in and tell us how you recycled this week and you'll get a badge. It was the best programme ever.
I mean, it still is made on the BBC, but just online.
It's still going.
It's still going. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been decommissioned on actual telly, but it's still being made online as far as I'm aware.
I got a Blue Peter badge the other day. I'm just going to drop it out.
Of course you did.
Yeah, but it's on my notice.
I want one.
For your services to spreadsheets.
I hope that would have been ideal, but actually I got given it by the producer of the show, because I went over and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you're here. Like, I'm such a huge fan. And then was like, I'm 31 years old. This is quite tragic. And he reached into his pocket, looked around shiftily, handed over this Blue Peter badge in a handshake. And he was like, don't tell anyone.
Oh my goodness.
And now I've just announced it here.
Yeah. So naturally you're telling everyone.
No, I get that. I totally get that. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have an inner child still within us. And when I worked in television, I worked with like the crew of Sesame Street on a job one day.
Wow.
And that was like, I was Elmo's biggest fan. So when I got to sit there and like sing along with them, I literally had like tears streaming down my face. At the time I was like 22. I was like, oh my God. And so yeah, I completely get that feeling.
I mean, I had a question poised, which feels like a huge gear change now, but I'm going to go back to it anyway, because there was a little bit of kind of touching upon some of the perhaps more negative voices that you might hear in the media industry. And we had a conversation. Goodness me, they're coming for us. Sirens outside, typical London. We had a conversation the other day with Less Waste Laura, who you may have come across.
Yeah.
She was instrumental in the recent ban of single-use plastic vapes, and she's, again, a climate communicator, brilliant one at that. And we touched a little bit upon comments and negative comments and perhaps some trolling that she's got online.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, is that something that you've been subject to? And I think I already know the answer to it.
Yeah.
What's your kind of response to that?
You can't escape it.
Yeah, it depends on the level of stupidity as to whether you reply or not. So we tend to reply to most because oftentimes it's just a little tweak to the messaging for them to understand it. Because sometimes it might even be something that we did wrong.
Yeah.
We said it in a slightly wrong way that they misinterpreted. But there are some platforms.
Or we just sometimes we get the facts wrong, and so
Yeah.
if we do, we try and make
Yeah.
a correction.
Okay, yeah.
So-
There definitely are some platforms where you get more trolls. I think YouTube in particular, because people can hide behind their names and they don't have to put an official name on there.
Yeah.
Whereas on TikTok and Instagram, you kind of have a platform behind that, so people can kind of see who you are.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
always, but like Ben was saying, you can always quite quickly tell what's a troll and what's
Yeah.
not. And obviously, trolls not worth responding to. But at the same time, the more trolls that comment, the more the algorithm boosts
Yeah.
the
Engagement
content.
is
So
good
we leave
engagement.
them there. We're like, all right, fine.
Respond with
As
a
long as it's
little
nothing really
globe
hateful or anything
emoji,
like
yeah.
that, we're like, okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah.
We'll leave you to your little echo chamber. But a lot of the times, it is sometimes just misguided or misinformed. A lot of people will say, oh, but this is actually like this, and we always try and come in with a empathetic tone. We don't want to be like, oh, we know more than you, because that's not fair on anybody. We didn't know half the things we know, more than half of the things we know now when we started. And so, yeah, if somebody's just kind of misinformed, then we try and just say, oh, actually, based on this study, this is what, the true facts are. And sometimes it works. Sometimes they still want to believe their opinion. And that's fine. You can't change people's opinion. All you can do is try and show them the good stuff and, hope they come around. But
Yeah. You love to go into in-depth battles with people in the comments.
yes, but always I never nasty or anything like that. I always just try and be more fact-based and science-based. It's like, listen, if you're not listening to this, and after a certain point, I'm not going to spend my whole evening doing this. If it's 2 comments and I can tell that they're not relenting, then
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Oh, we are really lucky because I feel like our community and the people that kind of watch our stuff, maybe don't follow us, but maybe see it frequently.
Yeah.
For the most part, they are genuinely really interested or inquisitive, or sometimes they challenge us, and it's really great. Well, we really love our community. We feel so lucky to have them. So those negative comments are quite rare. It's only when maybe something really takes off and goes viral sometimes that you can reach these other groups, which also always good, because it's always good to try and educate, but at the same time it's you just have to know your limits there a little bit more.
And I think that is an interesting point that I've actually seen a few creators talk about online, is that actually with virality, which I think loads of people would assume, oh, amazing, that video's gone viral. But like you say, then you are reaching the masses and you are reaching the people that don't always agree with you. And naturally, the more traction a post gets, the more often negativity you're going to get that comes with it. So
Yeah.
how do you balance that? The fact that loads of your videos go viral, and yes, your lovely community are happy to see it, but the minute it goes past that, it's always that oh, okay, maybe just stop now with the views.
Yeah.
You got to realize that not everyone's going to agree with you. I think as a small creator, trying to build your audience at the very start, you should be reaching out to other people in your sphere and commenting on their stuff so that you can build that initial following, which is kind of like your army protecting you.
Yeah.
So that when those comments come in, some of them might even be replied to by your
Yeah,
followers.
so nice.
that happens quite frequently, and we're always like, yes, thank you. And I think also after a certain point, when some things go viral, sometimes that happens the day we post, day after we post, and sometimes it happens a week later or something. So we always try and we monitor the comments for a while, but then sometimes when it gets to a certain point, we'll have a little scroll through from time to time, but you have to kind of have thick skin and just kind of be like, not worth worrying about, and because this is the thing, other people will always almost fight your battles for you in the comments, like Ben was saying. So it's like, okay, you have to protect your mental health and everything as well.
Do you ever have any creative disagreements?
all the
every
time.
day, every
All the
day.
time.
It's because I come from kind of more of a strict journalist background. I'm like, no, that doesn't make sense. That grammar's wrong. And Ben's like, but it works on social media. So
The
constantly.
Northerners will get it as well.
Oh, the Northerners will get it,
So
trust me.
sometimes, we're constantly butting heads about things, but it's always at the end of the day, we do compromise and we find a good way to kind of make both of our ideas work. And
But in terms of projects and the part of sustainability and the part of climate and that storytelling that you are really passionate about and that you really want to see more of and perhaps share more of in the next few years as well?
We really want to do a big trip in Asia at the end of this year. Because a lot of those projects don't really make it onto social media, especially
at least
onto
Western
Instagram.
media, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're planning currently a trip to South Korea and Japan and we may even venture into India and China as well.
Wow. Let us know if you need any bag carriers. Or,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We'll be your runners. That's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Supervisors.
My mum's a nurse, and she says every time, "Do you need a nurse?"
like a traveling nurse.
Never a bad thing to have. Never a bad thing to have.
No, exactly. Yeah. I don't think we have a one set answer for that question.
Yeah.
Honestly, as we go, our goals and desires for this business constantly are changing, especially as our own knowledge and understanding of things grows. So, yeah, we just want to keep expanding and keep doing more and more and more, and see what
There's
happens.
new projects coming to us every single day, so
Yeah.
we're just taking it as it comes.
Yeah.
I know we're probably coming towards the end of this conversation, so I want to ask a bit of a cheeky question, because you see all of these amazing things across the world, these incredible projects that are so pioneering. You're also publicly facing part of the brand, so you're held to quite a high standard. Are there any things in your personal life that you do that are less sustainable, apart from obviously flying, which we kind of mentioned on, that when you do them, you're like, oh no, I'm quite glad this isn't being filmed right now.
Exposing ourselves here.
Yeah.
I think the travel's probably the biggest part, because we both are. Again, when I say this, I don't want to sound like I'm holier than thou, but we really do make a conscious effort to practice what we preach. We are both vegan, 12 years, and I think
Five. Coming to 6.
Coming to 6 years. We always fortunately, our borough in London composts, so we're able to compost like all of our food waste. We recycle, and then we even separate soft plastic recycling and all that stuff.
I think travel is the main one.
We've just found the perfect people.
Yeah.
No.
I know, God. Oh, sorry. I think travel's probably the biggest one, because, we understand our job does require more miles. And that is something that we do feel guilty about. Like, even if it's an inconvenience to us, or it does take a longer time to get to a place, we always look at like the rail option or the EV option first. And it's not always possible. For example, we just went to Iceland a few days ago for work, and we were there it was like 2 or 3 days for work, and then because we had to fly there, obviously we couldn't swim, we spent a few more days road tripping around the country, and we had planned to book an EV camper van to take us around, and that fell through at the last minute, so we had to book like a diesel van, and so that's something obviously we feel guilty about, but those things do happen, and again, progress, not perfection, and we just try and be better every day.
We've got to work within the world that we currently have.
Yeah.
I wish we had hydrogen planes right now, but we don't. We went to an Airbus summit recently, which was really cool. Hopefully those will be flying in by 2035, which would be amazing.
They're actively working on hydrogen planes, and it's not just the planes, it's retraining pilots, it's creating airport infrastructure, and it's a whole operation, but it was really amazing. We spoke with the head of hydrogen there, and he was like, we're going to make this happen. We don't have an exact deadline yet, but we will. And we always try and just be better.
But I suppose in that exploration and the breadth and depth of stuff that you do, it exposes where these holes exist, and exposes where there is still progress to be made. And that, is a way, I think, to help soften how some of those things may feel internally. And definitely something that we've explored of how do you use your emissions wisely? I think that's another Juliet Kinsman-ism.
Yeah.
And how do you think about the totality of what you're doing and make those trade-offs? And everything in this life is a trade-off of some sort, isn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. I try not to. I don't want to make excuses, because I can't stand that. It's like excusing bad behavior. But you have to kind of be kind to yourself, and just know you're not always going to get it right, and that's okay. But you can do what you can.
Yeah. I have one juicy thing that can expose us.
Oh, go on.
Whoa,
I'm worried now.
He's been saving it up.
you burnt a tyre yesterday.
I have a big chocolate addiction. So, and we've learned all about how bad chocolate is for the environment, but we found actually some cool companies. I went to a chocolate factory last year in San Francisco that are making chocolate out of, what was it? It was grape seed waste.
Basically, it's not
No cacao at all.
Because cacao is linked to lots of like slave labor issues, and with climate change, like the yields are becoming a lot lower and things like
And
that.
deforestation. And so I eat way too much chocolate, and I need to really cut down on it.
But we do try and source always from ethical companies.
Yeah.
Like we love Tony's Chocolate,
Oh,
Ombar, all
Tony's.
those.
Great.
You did a fabulous video during Easter where you were like, not only is Tony's Chocolonely like better for the planet, but it's also the best amount of chocolate per gram per pound.
Yeah, in terms of effectiveness, well, just basically don't buy Easter eggs because they're a waste. But I got a little bit trolled online for that, just basically being like, oh God, bore, embrace the Easter bunny. And I was like, yeah, was that a bit miserable? It's hard to know, isn't it? You don't want to be too doom and gloom, but also you don't want to see every man and his dog going out and buying a plastic Easter egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that.
Trying to save people money. And also, I think it's worth noting, Ben, you are our first Green King.
Yes.
We haven't had a man on this pod yet. No.
Can we put a little...
A crown. Get this man a crown.
Yeah.
And I will say, actually, so yesterday I interviewed Ed Miliband.
Double name drop.
Double name
Clang.
drop. Sorry, who am I? It's London Climate Action Week. There's a lot of lovely names knocking about. But there'd been a bit of confusion. Was he going on Fully Charged Show? Was he going on Green Queens? And he was like, I'm so excited to be the first man on Green Queens. And I was like, I'm really sorry.
Stole Ed
You're not.
Miliband's
So
crown.
you've
Sorry,
been
Ed. Sorry.
Which just leads us to our final question, which is, what is the last thing that you did with the environment in mind?
Today or ever?
Ever, today,
yesterday,
whenever.
last sustainable thing you did, yeah.
I don't want to sound too make
I
it
want
too
to
no,
make it
it's
sound...
more
It's the end of the show. I want to make it good.
Yeah.
We came on a bike here.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That is perfect.
Yeah, we don't own a car, so yeah, we cycle and take public transport everywhere. So
That's brave
Yeah.
in London. Well done.
Perfect. And I think that is the key thing, actually.
The more
Ju-
simple, the better.
Yeah. Because anyone can, most people can use public transport or walk or cycle and make that choice as well. So it's
And I think this is where often people can get really bogged down with, oh, it's too complicated, oh, it's going to cost more money. But that question does tend to lead to the most fabulously simple answers.
sustainability does not have to take anything away from your life, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It's unfortunately often marketed as this luxury commodity, but it's absolutely not.
It often adds benefits to your life, for sure.
Absolutely.
And we're trying to thank you so much for taking your time
Thank
out
you for having
your
us.
very busy schedule.
It's really fun.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Amazing.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Green Queens. If you did and you'd like to hear more, we'd be so very grateful if you could like,
Subscribe and join the Green Group Chat for weekly episodes.